Financial services makes a huge contribution to the UK economy, and an important element of that contribution is our trade with other EU countries, and we run a £20 billion trade surplus with other EU countries in relation to financial services. The way in which we do that, or the mechanism, is the ability to rely on the freedom to provide services and freedom of establishment via a passport. A passport allows any UK financial institution based anywhere in the EU to provide services elsewhere in the EU without having to establish itself in another member state, subject to harmonised rules which operate throughout the EU. It would be very easy for the UK to negotiate a deal similar to Norway and within the EEA, or perhaps bilateral treaties such that Switzerland has with the EU. However, the UK is not Norway, it's not Switzerland. It may be able to negotiate something which we haven't yet seen a model for. However, any deal that it does negotiate is first of all likely to have a long lead time and give rise to lots of uncertainty, and also is likely to leave the UK with significantly less influence over the regulation with which it will probably have to comply in the future. In my view, the EU would also be harmed from the perspective of financial services by a Brexit. The EU needs many of the financial services which are provided by the city. It needs its capital, its finance, its liquidity, and any harm that's caused to the city won't necessarily benefit, Frankfurt or Paris. Okay, some firms will feel they need to establish or bulk up their subsidiaries there, but a damaged city means an enhanced Singapore or New York. So a key way in which I think both the UK financial services industry, the city, and the remainder of the EU would in fact be damaged by a Brexit would be that the EU would lose that counterbalance in liberal tendency that the UK brings. And I would expect in that case that EU financial services regulation would become less liberal and more restrictive. We would see more regulation in the vein of the banker bonus caps, the Alternative Investment Fund Managers Directive. The ECB would succeed in its ambition to have all euro-denominated trades take place in the Eurozone. And I think that would probably be damaging for the EU and also damaging for the city, which would continue to have to comply with those regulations in order to access the EU market. Assuming there was a Brexit and the UK couldn't successfully negotiate access to the EU's financial services markets, we can look to certain mitigants. First, some EU regulation would be stripped away, and that might act as a stimulant to UK financial services, although it's worth noting that some financial services regulation has its origin in the UK. Secondly, EU firms, companies could take steps in order to receive their financial services in the UK. And thirdly, EU subsidiaries of financial services firms, which presumably would need to be established in order to access EU markets, could engage in back-to-back trades so that the UK firm took the economic benefits and liabilities associated with the transaction.